All right, so welcome everybody to another edition of what I'm calling the LOG Dynasty Cast. We could come up with a new name if you guys are so clever, but that's what we're starting with. Got a new fancy overlay, so I'm excited about that. And we've also got a guest, as you can see, somebody with a webcam. So I'm excited, Colin. Glad you're
Technology.
here. Yes,
You're
technology is
welcome.
great.
You're welcome.
Colin, how are you feeling? How is COVID
Oh
treating
man,
you?
I'm feeling great now that I'm on the show. I'm a big fan.
Big
I'm
fan of
always
the
a big
show,
fan
huh? Big fan of the
of the
pod.
show. So it's been good. It's been I've been excited about coming in. So yeah, it's
Perfect.
good.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, today we'll just talk about your team and your philosophy and what you're learning through Dynasty and anything about you, really. Also your F1 predictions, anything like that would also
Sounds
be
good.
welcome on the show. So, yeah, so we're doing similar thing with I did it with my team by myself, and then Matt came on the show and we looked at his team. So what I've got on the screen is just your team. So tell me about your team. Tell me about your draft and things like that. How it went. What were your thoughts after the draft? Did you like your team? Were you excited about it?
Yeah, I was. I did one mock draft, as you recall, on the way while we were driving, and I was more excited about that team because I think I got Lamar Jackson in that one.
You did.
And of
Yeah.
course, he went like 2 picks before I could get him. And it's gonna lead into kind of like obviously like what I think is the biggest weakness with my team.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, overall, like I like my I like my draft, especially after week one, where um like Justin Jefferson, I'm pretty sure was the third person on the board. Uh, or like just in the natural rankings on sleeper.
Right.
So like I was excited that they got that right.
Yeah.
He scored a bunch of points week one, and I was like, "Oh wow, maybe my team is pretty good."
Yeah.
A little more like laid back in week two, but yeah, no, I'm excited about the team. I do think I still have like a good number of like promising young players, hopefully. So
Yeah, no, I mean Justin Jefferson's like the ideal guy to have on your team, no matter what your team looks like. I'm sure you're starting to realize that with the way this all works, right? Like wide receivers are around forever. I don't know Justin Jefferson, how old he is, like 22 or something, 23. He's super young. He's amazing. Maybe he's 23 or 24. I don't know, but
23, yeah,
and yeah, I mean, he's going to be good for a long time. And the OC's like featuring him way more than Dalvin Cook now. And they're just
yeah,
getting him the ball a million times. Like, that's fantasy gold right there. So that's exciting.
yeah.
Um,
So hopefully that's a good foundation for the team
yeah,
moving forward.
I do remember that mock draft. I was mocking for you while you were driving, and I was pretty excited about it for you. So that was good practice. Good practice run. Really set you up. So
I didn't want to over practice
you
and then
know,
like
yeah.
spoil anything or like start to come up with anything too complicated. So one was the perfect amount of drafting.
Well, you drafted much better than I did, so I'm impressed. So
Are you? Yeah,
I'm not like a big
well,
mock drafter, to be honest. It's not my favorite thing to do, especially, I mean, Dynasty, everything's just crazy. You have people that are like, well, I'm going to blow up my team. Matt, yeah, like immediately. And you're like, what is this team that you just drafted in front of me? That's crazy. And you can't predict that. You have no idea who's going to fall to you with these picks. So I
right.
feel like mocks are just kind of crazy. But um,
And yeah, I mean, most of us, well, like you're the only person in the whole league who's done Dynasty, right? Is that correct? Am I correct in that?
yeah, yeah, I am the only
You've
one.
only done it for like 1 year, right?
Yeah. So, like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just sitting here talking
You,
about it.
right. Like you don't know, and like everybody has come up with some kind of strategy in their heads, right?
Exactly.
Which is like they would only really like. I mean, maybe some people implemented those strategies during mock drafts, but y'all probably had like 4 or 5 people in each mock draft. When you have a full 14 people, all with different strategies, actually doing this, it's like people are gonna land way different. So
Way
yeah, I
different.
hear you.
Way
Yeah,
different. Yeah, and there's no way to plan for it. So you might as well just have some guys you like and take them if they get to you, and maybe play the ADP game a little bit. But so let's talk about your team. What I kind of like to do is just go through each position. What I've done on the screen is just list out all the players on your team right now, and then any picks you have, and we can talk about each position and answer some of these questions at the bottom that I think are really important to answer for your team. And then this whole thing is called a team audit. It's not intended to like tell you what to do with your team necessarily. We're not prescribing what you need to do. It's just ideas that might be helpful. So let's start out with your QB room. So you've got Matt Stafford, Mac Jones, and Sam Howell. So I think you got Stafford pretty late, right? Maybe like 8th round or something like that.
yeah, 8th round.
That's pretty good value, I think. I mean, how are you feeling about him after 2 weeks?
Yeah, so like, I mean, going forward, I'm gonna need someone who's younger and healthier.
Mm-hmm.
Because even going into the first game of the season, I think they said that they had some like concerns about his health and stuff. So like, he scored points the second week. I'm gonna need if I'm gonna be good, I'm gonna need a good quarterback at some point. Like
Yeah, I mean,
he is good. He's serviceable for like this year,
uh huh.
and like maybe if like I don't know, he'll probably I don't know. Maybe he will be in the league for a while longer. But I guess he's 34. It says.
Yeah, so he's
Um,
34. So maybe I should put age up here at some point. That would be helpful because we talk about that a lot. But I mean, 34 for a quarterback, it's getting up there. We know Stafford's had a ton of injuries in the past. He's missed a lot of time from injuries, or at least he's had a lot of injuries and played through them and things like that. So, yeah,
I would really like a really good young quarterback who I just like don't have to like I don't have to choose.
right. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's
Right.
fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
I think like if we were playing redraft, right, Matt Stafford would be like a top 10, top 12 guy pretty
Yeah.
easily in my mind. So like this year, like you said, and maybe even next year, he's a good option. So it's not a bad guy to have on your team, and you didn't spend much to get him. So that makes sense. And you've got Mac Jones, who you're hoping turns into something. I mean, I've watched some Patriots games, and they're kind of hard to watch, to be honest, right now. I don't know if it's like new offensive coordinator or what, but Mac Jones just, and not like he wasn't lighting up the league last year, but he actually looked the most competent of any of the
He's serviceable.
new
Yeah.
the rookie quarterbacks last year. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Jury's still out on him. He looks like pretty decisive. I mean, if you watch like, what is it, Justin Fields or Trey Lance before the
Yeah.
injury, like those guys are very indecisive. Don't seem like they know the offense like as well. But I just don't know if that's like a fantasy gold nine. I don't know what you think, but that's kind of my thoughts on Mac Jones right now.
I was like actually hoping to get Justin Fields, just watching him play
Hmm.
like a little bit in college and stuff. He looked really good. I
Yeah.
mean, I like maybe Chicago totally screws it up and ruins him, and now he'll be like could have been a good quarterback, but because he played in Chicago, it was a terrible situation. There's always
Yeah.
a possibility, but like, yeah, I was pretty disappointed when Eddie picked him. Like Eddie picked both quarterbacks 2 picks before I wanted him. So
Rough.
all of
Well,
Eddie's success is my failure this year.
well, he's having some success so far.
No shit.
He looks
Jesus.
pretty good, and I just traded him some guys, so he's gonna be even better.
Yeah.
But I guess yeah, it would be nice to have that all locked up. Be nice to have like a Justin Fields waiting in the wings and see if he figures it out.
Yeah.
But It's not dreadful, right? Your QB room's not like a dreadful situation. Maybe in a couple years, it's just it's something you probably want to address in a year or two. With
I think that would be my focus. Yeah.
okay,
That's gonna be one of your questions, right? But like,
yeah, for
I
sure.
think like, well, we can move on because you might convince me otherwise.
Okay,
You know?
all right. Well, let's move on and kind of talk about each other position. So running back, you got my boy Saquon, who I believed in for years, and this is the first year I didn't just like go overboard believing in Saquon. And of course, his first game he looked like old Saquon, and
Yeah.
he looked amazing. And they have a coach who's smart enough that, hey, if you throw Saquon the ball in space, like short little dump offs, he's really fast and hard to take down. Like, it's a good
Yeah.
idea. I don't understand why that wasn't the game plan all along, but even in a bad week last week, I think he got you like 11 points, bad quote
Yeah.
unquote week. I mean, that was just a rough game
Consistent.
overall, but he's
Plays
consistent.
lower. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hopefully.
great floor, crazy high ceiling. He's perfect for our league where you get like the ridiculous long touchdown points because he's going to break those off occasionally. You just know that. So yeah, I love that pick. Was that your second pick? I'm trying to remember your draft. Okay, and then your third pick was probably Dobbins here.
Yep.
Okay, so you got J.K. who hasn't played a game yet. But we know he's good. We know that offense is good, and they love to run. So he's like,
And they need somebody who can run other than Lamar.
right,
Uh, yeah. I'm hopeful that he like now it's been a season that he's been out, right? And I'm hopeful. I think he's gonna play this weekend. I think, because they realize like, oh, shit, we really need him.
yeah,
Um, so I'm hopeful he looked like he did before he got hurt. I guess it was a bad ACL injury, but
yeah. With those ACLs, they sometimes say it takes a year to kind of get back to it, which might make sense with Saquon. Kind of, he had the ACL 2 years ago. Last year looked kind of rough, and then, but I don't know. I just feel like this coach knows that Saquon's the best player and get him the ball. But anyway, I'm hoping for your sake and for the Ravens' sake, watching Lamar, he has someone else to run the ball because, like you said, they desperately need it. So you've
yeah,
got, in my mind, two quality starters. Like, I don't know where we project like a J.K. Dobbins, but he's got to be like, in terms of a 14 team league, he probably cracks the top 14 running backs. Would you think that right now?
he should. The way he looked, yeah, like I said, the way he looked before he got injured, it was a surprise. I mean, it's like him and it's like right. I mean, they were like, oh, we can get rid of Mark Ingram now because we have a good running back in J.K. and he's like getting
Hmm.
better.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, like they planned on him being really good, so I'm hoping.
Perfect. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, I agree. I think he's got to be crack that top 14 for you. So he's got to be like a
and
a plus starter for you in comparison to
yeah,
other people, right?
he's like 23, so like
Yeah,
if he does come back strong, yeah, then it seems like yeah, a lot maybe like a lot of the whether the team is good based off of like whether he like comes back strong or whether he kind of you know just never really recovers or never
right.
really comes back how he was before he got injured. A lot might pivot off of that. So
Yeah, so you've also got AJ Dillon here,
yeah,
who is getting a lot of work early in this season. They're running AJ Dillon and Aaron Jones out there at the same time a lot. Dillon's getting a lot of carries, looking pretty good, um, and seems to be a big part of the offense. It feels like it's only going to grow. Also, you've got Saquon and AJ Dillon, so you must have the most quads per player. That's impressive. What do you think
uh,
about him so far?
well, yeah, I watched him beat the crap out of U of L for a couple years, and I was like, I remember that dude.
Yes. Yes, he's quite good.
So I mean, he's like, yeah, he's a good like um backup or flex.
Yeah. In our
Because
league,
he's like
definitely a good
scored,
flex play. I agree.
he's like scored consistent points. And I guess he's pretty young too.
Yeah.
Um,
Um,
Despite him looking like he's 45 in this little picture on Sleeper, he's young. Like
what is he,
I
24 or something like that?
yeah, he's 24. It says yeah, trying to just go off that basic priority of like, okay, find the best young running back early that you
Yeah,
can, right? So J.K. and AJ was up there as well, um,
absolutely.
and hopefully like, and then like I didn't draft anyone for a while that is a running back, but hopefully like those three, between those three guys, I'll have at least like, if JK doesn't come back well or like doing well or whatever, or gets injured again or something, at least I'll be able to put two running backs in.
Right. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, it's hard. So, I mean, people might look at this from like a 10 team league perspective or even 12 team league and it's like, well, wow, why don't you have more than 3 running backs? But
Yeah.
it's really hard to have a quality person who actually sees the field on a regular basis and is useful in our league without, paying a lot for him. So I think you did a good job getting 3 starters that are young and could be around for a few years. So, I mean, in comparison, I would definitely
Yeah.
call this like a plus compared to other teams in the league. Like you have a plus running back room, and like when you have a matchup with someone, you're more than likely going to have better running backs than them. I would think. I don't know. That's just kind of my gut feeling right now.
Do you think that just, I'm looking at the other teams. I mean, I guess that's pretty, well, I'm looking at our draft. So
Things have
I'm
changed a lot since then.
trying to, yeah, I'm trying to see like if three is like a good number. Um,
Well, yeah, and
do
it's
you think
3
that's
good
like the need
players.
for my team, or do you think that,
I mean, so far, I don't think so. I don't think so.
yeah,
I think it's pretty solid. I mean, you look at your depth here. Let's just quickly talk about these guys, like Eno Benjamin, maybe a guy who's useful some weeks. Seems like Connor's always hurt, but he doesn't really have the Connor role. I forget who they have. They have like Daryl Williams, I think, there to do the Connor role when he's hurt, but he'll get some work. And I think he may have had a good week one. I forget, but and then Jerome Ford, I like him a lot. He looked good in college, and that's just like the Browns is like a great place to have a running back from. It's just a great in case there's some injuries. He'll be productive because they're really good at running the ball. So um, I guess when we start talking about needs, let's we probably need the full picture. So let's keep going. Kind of look at your wide receiver room. We already talked a lot about Justin Jefferson. He's amazing. He's like probably the most coveted guy right now. He might even be the number one guy on Keep Trade Cut when you rank dynasty players from a dynasty players perspective. He's definitely got to be one or 1A, I feel like, to chase, or maybe you could think about Jonathan Taylor, but the Colts look awful this year.
mhm.
So bad. In any case, you got Drake London, which I was so excited about that pick when you made that pick. I did want Drake London. It feels like he's just so good already. And him and Kyle Pitts is like a nightmare matchup already. I was watching some
Yeah,
film on that, and Pitts is making so much room for him. I know Pitts looks like kind of a bust right now in terms of his ADP, but man, Drake London is already like rookie wide receivers. I've said this a few times, but rookie wide receivers usually don't come in and do much. And if it's like 800 yards and a couple touchdowns, like that's a great year for a rookie. But he's he's looking good. I mean, he's already scored you some points, right?
Yeah, he did, especially second week. He had a good week. So
What was this,
yeah,
like your 5th round pick or something? I'm trying to remember your draft.
this is one, two, three, fourth round.
4th round pick. Okay, but
Yeah.
still, I think people are gonna look back on that, and it's gonna be a steal for years. And just imagine like when a new QB comes to town, like this guy's gonna have somebody like Bryce Young or CJ Stroud throwing him the ball next year,
Yeah.
more than likely, because the Falcons are bad. I mean, let's just be honest, they're a bad team. But
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. I'm excited about him. Uh, I don't know who Elijah Moore is, but I guess he scored some points for me.
yeah. So you don't deserve him if you don't know who Elijah Moore is. Nah, it'll be interesting for him. I mean, he's like the Jets' second receiver now. That kind of Garrett Wilson is the big name there now, but we'll see how it goes. He's really talented. Last year he had a good year.
22. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a good pick.
I mean he broke that whatever 800-yard mark for rookies that people. That's kind of like the mark that people look for in a rookie season. Like, can you break 800 yards and so many touchdowns? And he did that. And with an awful Zach Wilson. I mean, Zach Wilson was terrible last year. So and the team in general was just bad. So we'll see how it goes. But that's a high upside there. And you got Rondale Moore, who's been hurt, so we can't really say much about him. Lockett and Landry are definitely like startable dudes, but not like long term. But you've already got like 3 dudes who I think would start on a lot of teams with Jefferson, London, and Moore, depending on your team. Maybe not right now with how Elijah's producing, but I feel like he's going to be a startable dude for most teams. Everybody else on your team actually don't know some of these players, which is means a lot to me.
A lot of them. So yeah, I just picked up Equanimous St. Brown this morning.
Yeah. So
I guess he's.
have you been watching Hard Knocks, I guess?
I have, yeah.
Oh.
So I was like, oh, and I mean, he might be all right. I have a lot of wide receivers here, and like I feel best about that, right? Because
Right.
like there's young ones a lot, and then if I need people to Jarvis Landry or Tyler Lockett this year to play, like they're still going to get consistent points too.
Right.
So
And that's good. And I like that balance there. I mean, you don't have to, even though I did it myself recently, it's like you don't have to have all young players or all old players or whatever on your team.
Right.
Like having a balance is just fine. And I think it's nice to have those guys for bye weeks or injuries or if someone's not performing. Like you don't want to play Elijah Moore yet because he hasn't shown enough. So might as well play a guy who's actually scoring points. Things like that. So, all right, let's take a quick look at your tight end room. Dalton Schultz he was like tight end 3 last year. I don't know if people know that. And then Irv Smith. I'm not too excited about him. To be honest, he's small and he got a lot of targets this past week, so maybe he's a big part of that offense, and I just don't know it. But he looked. I mean, he's been injured a lot, but he looked like he hadn't played football in a while. It was kind of rough looking. But I will say Schultz is a good option when Dak is healthy. So
right. Well, Schultz, I guess, has a sprained PCL or something last week, so they're saying like he might not. They're evaluating whether he's going to play or not. So I might be like relying on Irv to carry that. So that might be like for this year at least, that might be a pretty glaring weakness with my team is tight end position.
Yeah, and I mean when you come back to like having Dak, whenever that happens in 4 or 6 weeks or whatever, he'll be productive again. So it's a long game, but maybe maybe the next 4 weeks will be kind of tough at that spot. All right, let's talk about your picks. So you haven't traded anything yet? Classic Colin. I like it. Haven't traded your picks, but you have all your picks, which not a lot of people can say that at this point in the season. We've already gone bananas. What's your take so far on the frenzy of trades that have happened so far in the first 2 weeks of this season?
I tried to trade for. I try to trade Colin Edmondson one player every year, and he always denies me. And last year, I tried to trade him DJ Moore for Rondale Moore, which would have been a terrible trade, and he rejected me. Thank God. This year, I tried to trade him like anything for Desmond Ritter, just because Desmond Ritter went to my high school. Like, that's it. Like that's the only reason. And he might be good, but like that's really it.
Right.
So yeah, and he rejected me again. So Desmond's gonna be terrible. But, like I just don't. Like I think I got a trade offer for like a second and third round pick for one of my players. I probably, like, based on what I'm thinking, I probably should be proposing more my second and third round picks for like other people's players, because like in my thoughts on this in like a 14 team league is that those like a second round pick is like a real toss up on whether that's going to actually get you anything.
Yeah.
Like that gets you like a third or fourth round draft pick. Like in the actual draft, like in the actual NFL draft. So like that that may be like you might hit on that, but I feel like those second round draft picks even like are going to end up being like players that you might not get anything out of for like 2 or 3 years.
Right.
Probably have like dropped them or traded them by then or something. So like honestly, like I don't know anything about dynasty. This is totally my like individual take on it. But like I'm lazy, so like I try to win with doing like the least amount of work possible. And so like when I look at you and especially like Lewis, who basically like Lewis is playing this on hard mode.
Yes.
Like he's decided that like, and it's for the love of fantasy football. You two love fantasy football. Oh, let me ask you this: since you lost Trey Lance, are you now like, are you tanking? Is that what I see?
Yeah, I have like no chance. I felt like with my team, and it was early to make that decision. I'll say that it was early. I could have waited a few weeks and like seen what my team looked like, but after losing Trey Lance, like I pretty much bet the farm on Trey Lance in my draft. Like it was like the 7th round, which shouldn't make or break your draft, but looking back on it, it really did. I was picking a lot of like highish floor, low ceiling dudes, and realistically, the only dude who was worth a lot is there's 2 guys. I mean, Eckler and Devontae Adams, but Eckler kind of started off the year kind of lukewarm, and Devontae looked really good week 1, and week 2 they couldn't get him the ball, which is disturbing. They can't get a guy who gets that open the ball, but yeah, I'm tanking. I don't have any players of value, so I've got a bunch of picks, and it's not easy. It's not like it's the easy way out in Dynasty to have a strategy. That's for sure, because people will always buy players for picks if they're worth anything. Yeah. But it's like you aren't, like you were saying. Let's like back to what you were saying about second round picks or third round picks or whatever. Like it's really hard to hit on those picks. It's hard to hit on first round picks. Like when I think about my first rookie draft, I had basically 3 or 4 first round picks, and the guys I went with were Jameson Williams, Sky Moore, Jahan Dotson, and James Cook. And of those guys, Jameson Williams has been hurt, which I knew that going in. I just think I really like him. I could have picked Treylon Burks, who looks pretty great right now, but I still believe in Jameson Williams, so I'm not going to call him a bust yet. Sky Moore has not even had a snap last week, so he's nothing. James Cook had fumbled on his first attempt and then played in garbage time yesterday. I still think he's talented, but could be. I could have 3 busts right there, maybe. And I picked Jahan Dotson, who I love. One of he's my favorite rookie, easily my favorite rookie.
Yeah.
And just because of his mixtape, the dude made the song about him. Nothing to do with like football, anything. But he's actually turned out to be like one of the most surprising, like good rookies. So yeah, so I'm excited about him. But just from that like small sample size, you can see like rookie picks don't always turn out to be Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase or productive players like quickly at all. And yeah, it's
unless you fully commit to the tank.
Yes,
You just go all.
Yeah, so you just bad for a few years, and then hopefully, you hit on some of your picks, like half your picks, some kind of percentage like that. So it's not easy. It's
and those guys are sitting on your roster, and you're like, should I just get rid of these guys for like waiver people who are like scoring like 5 points a week or something like that? Like, how big is your other league? How many teams?
10 teams. It's 10 teams. So
yeah.
my roster's a lot more, competitive in that. I'm really just missing running backs at this point, but it's still, I mean, and all the same sort of players are rostered. It's a little bigger benches, but still, my depth is a lot better in that league. But now I've got nothing in ours.
Yeah, so what I should be doing is like I should be trading away my picks because that's my.
Well, yeah, you could be. So yeah, let's talk about that. So actually, first let's talk about your core players before we start talking about trading. And this is going to be a long one, but that's fine with me. This was fun. So your core players, I want to write that down. To me, is like easily Justin Jefferson is guy number 1.
Yeah.
And then the other one who's like super easy for me to say right now is Saquon. And these are guys like that are going to be on your team for a long time. I think Drake London is almost like guaranteed here, but I wasn't comfortable even putting like Treylon Burks on Matt's. So like rookies, I think it's too hard to say unless they just come out of the gate like completely blazing that they're going to be on your team forever. Hopefully,
I'm not trading him.
Yeah. Yeah, there's like a 0% chance you're trading him, right? I mean, you don't trade much anyway, so like trading your promising young rookie.
You have a big core list for me.
Yeah, I could. Yeah, I could just put your whole team on the core list, right? But I want to think like super long term, 3 or 4 years from now, who's still going to be on your team? And like Saquon might be not as he's going to drop off the age cliff here at some point because he's a running back. But I'm just going to say for like these guys, like J.K. Dobbins is also a guy that makes sense as long as he comes back healthy. That's a little questionable, but to me, like those guys are definite core players that. And you shouldn't trade away. You shouldn't trade away Drake London. You shouldn't trade away AJ Dillon. You shouldn't trade away Elijah Moore. Those are young, good players. There's no reason to trade away. I'm gonna say this a million times because I get tired of seeing it in other leagues. I get tired of seeing it. I see it in our league sometimes. It's like let's trade away a good young player, and my team isn't there yet. Like if you have an amazing team and you want to trade away a good young player for like Davante Adams, okay, that makes sense. Like if that's what takes you over the edge, but you don't know. Like these guys get better. There's no, you don't know exactly how they're going to turn out. But that's my core. Do you agree, or do you think that someone else should be on here?
Them and Ray McLeod, and that's it.
Good old Ray.
$11.
Yeah.
Just returning punts and scoring tons of points. No, I think that's exactly the list.
All right, so we talked about your draft capital already. Nothing's changed. You have all your firsts, you have all your seconds, all your thirds, and all your fourths. I guess we have 4th round picks. And then is your team continuing this year realistically? What do you think? What's your take on that question?
I mean, I think it could. I think it could based off the first week. Like I said, second week was pretty Yeah, it wasn't that impressive, but um, I don't know with teams like if Eddie's still continues to be good, or if um, Alex actually wins now. Bryce is looking really good, right? Um,
Right. Akey's team looks pretty good,
like those
especially.
those team. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, especially since he just traded for Devonte Adams this morning, and uh,
Right. So like, yeah. So like Akey, Bryce, Eddie, they probably have more promise than my team does, but I could
so
somehow finagle my way in there. I think potentially.
yeah, and I mean, you have the best player in fantasy here in Justin Jefferson right now. You have guy number one. So if you have that ace in the hole there, that you're always
Yeah.
going to be competitive because he could put up a monster week and just win you the week, as long as the rest of your team is, halfway decent. And I think that that's very
TJ coming
true.
back good.
I
Yeah.
think I think that your team like doesn't have a ton of like glaring weaknesses
Yeah.
this year. You've talked a lot about later Stafford or later for your tight end spot, like who really stays there. You don't have like a Kyle Pitts or Mark Andrews or something at tight end, but you
Yeah.
have someone who's competent. Um, so yeah, I think you can be competitive, and really the goal is getting to the playoffs, right? Like you get to the playoffs and then you just have a few weeks, like anything could happen.
You just need to win one game that's
Yeah,
like a outlier. Yeah.
exactly. So I agree with that assessment. I think this team is competitive. I think there's no reason to like even think about blowing anything up here, trading for picks or stuff like that. You could if
That
you
sounds like a
you
lot of
wanted
work.
to. Yeah, you could do some stuff if you wanted to. Like I like these like tier down trades sometimes where maybe you think two guys are pretty similar. I'm trying to think of an example off the top of my head. But like let's say you think Elijah Moore and Brandon Ayuk are on the same tier, and somebody really likes Elijah Moore. Maybe they'll give you Ayuk plus a second round pick for Elijah Moore just to get their guy. Like those kind of trades, I would be fine with if you really value him the same way,
Mhm.
just to get more picks. But that's the only way I can really think of your team trading for more picks. Like you said, I could see you trading some picks. So let's talk about areas of need. So areas of need. What do you think the biggest area of need is, if you had to take a stab at it?
From what I said earlier, my opinion is quarterback.
Okay.
Um, I guess you could also. I guess it would be like, in my opinion, the rank is quarterback, tight end, running back. But
I'm gonna call it running back depth because
that's
you
fair.
you got good running backs, but maybe like bye weeks or injuries or something. Like unfortunately, if something like Saquon getting injured, your starting lineup looks a little rougher when something like that happens. So having someone you could plug in would be nice, like a Melvin Gordon or somebody just who is going to get some points and maybe could score a touchdown. Uh,
Yeah.
that would be nice. Um,
Do you agree with that
I agree
list?
with that list. I don't know if that's the order I would put them in.
Tight end
Like,
first, maybe.
yeah, I might put. I don't know. I don't know. I might put running back depth first, just as like I think that's a helpful thing to have, and that's probably the easiest thing to get with like cheaper picks. I don't think you're necessarily like just thinking about how the league is right now. A lot of people have gone all in, and they are not drafting rookies for the next like 3 years. Like
Yeah.
2 or 3 years, and that's fine. But it might be like your team is really young for the most part. I mean, you've got Stafford who's older, but like next year your team's not going to be bad, even if this is what you trot out. And in my
Yeah.
opinion, right? So trading your first, like if you get a first round pick and it ends up being somebody like helpful and startable, that would be great for you in terms of just building more value and having a better team. So like trading your first unless you got kind of a younger player, I don't know if I would like.
Be a bad idea.
I don't know if that's a great idea or not. I don't know. I'm kind of wavering on it. But seconds, I don't mind. Like you said, in our league, think about like a second round pick, like what number that is in our league. So we have first round picks go up to 14, right? That's 14 guys off the board. So let's say you finish like middle of the pack. That puts you at like seventh. So you're picking the 21st rookie out of the 2023 rookie class. Like, how good is that person? We've already picked 20 guys, and it's like maybe it's a running back that you end up being able to start. I'm trying to think of guys this year that went around there. I'm thinking like Khalil Shakir for whatever for the Bills. I'm thinking who else? Who else went around that range? Actually, in my league, Trey McBride did, but that doesn't make any sense. He should have been a second round pick, especially tight end premium. Anyway, but there's usually not that many good guys. You maybe get an Alvin Kamara there if you're like super lucky. So, but yeah, I guess to me, I'd probably order this like running back depth and then QB tight end, something like that. But I agree with the three. I think you got the right areas of need, and your trades maybe, if I were you, would be small and like small victories to shore up depth or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I probably need to trade. You're right. Like I probably need to trade, like focus on like trading for a young running back that is at least getting some kind of like touches on the ball. And then
someone has promise,
yeah, and then like my assumption would be that if I'm seventh or whatever, like the first, most people will probably like running backs or wide receivers from the rookie draft is my guess. Unless they need like a quarterback or something like that, I may be able to get someone who's potentially a good quarterback. And
I would think in our league, I would think Bryce Young or CJ Stroud might go like in the first 5 picks. Even though it's not a super flex league, I would think those guys would probably go pretty early. But after that, I mean, I think there's a lot of good quarterbacks in this upcoming draft class. So you could definitely get a future like easy plug and play starter for you at 7 or 8 or wherever. People say like ending the year 7th or whatever is like ending in the middle is like the worst place to be. But I think it's a pretty deep draft class, so you can still get a good player there, and you get to keep your team, and your team only gets like better in my mind. I mean, maybe that's not true. Maybe situations change and not all guys are better, but your team's just young, so. Trying to think of anything else. Anything else you were thinking about before you joined that you wanted to talk about?
No, I think that kind of covers it. I mean, I guess like I'm just interested to see what happens overall, like as time goes on, to like the teams kind of like mellow out. So do like we meet more in the middle? Is there less extremes? Or will it be that like we kind of have people who are like clearly like top like 2 or 3 teams are just like, yeah, those teams are, one of those teams is going to win the championship this year.
Yeah.
And like I get it, like I guess from what I've heard you say about like dynasty generally is that like you'll have like a window of like 2 or 3 years where your team's like super good, something like that. Like, and that's what you're kind of like posing yourself toward like a short couple years where you have a good chance to win, and then you have to kind of rebuild your team and stuff like that. And then just wonder with like with 14 teams, how like long term are people in this league going to think or like strategize? Like because people like you and Lewis, for example, right? Like you're gonna love like doing this for however long we do Dynasty.
Right.
You're gonna really enjoy like getting on the waivers, trading, like hustling to get your team in a better place. And like I said, I think it's in hard mode, but like that's why I'm not playing hard mode. Like that would be awful.
It's not even smart. It's not even necessarily the smartest way to go. You know, it is hard mode, and I think what you're doing makes sense. So
I wonder for like, you know, I just wonder across the board. And then like if we have teams who are like not investing a lot of time or like doing very well, like not building and then like rebuilding and stuff like that. If teams are just like struggling, like does it make it so that the people who are like investing time and who are really trying just like kind of run away with it? But
yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
I would think that people who invest time are always going to be more competitive. Maybe not win it all, but you know, if you're at least paying attention to the waiver wire and making decent trades and drafting decently, like
Yeah.
you're gonna get a competitive team at some point. But here's the thing: you can like totally fumble everything and just walk right into like a Cooper Cup or whatever, and with one of your late picks, and all of a sudden have this powerhouse player that came out of nowhere. So it's still the same old fantasy football. And things change so much year to year that you just have no idea who's going to be awesome or not. Like you can take a pretty good guess, and we can take pretty good guesses here, but you just have no idea really what's going to happen. So I think there's still that element in it. But yeah, for the first couple of years, I would imagine there's going to be a few teams that are dominant that just push their chips all in and are like not too worried about the future and just want to win a ship. But after that, it'll definitely settle, and we'll see some new teams pop up, and depending on how drafts go. And it might not be my team and Lewis's team. Like we may draft poorly and just be mediocre forever. Like that's definitely a possibility. So we're just starting early on it.
You got to start evaluating high school players.
Yeah, middle school players. Yeah.
You get it. You gotta get that edge. You gotta get competitive edge.
Yeah, exactly.
So you gotta start now.
Exactly.
Get that like that Rivals Pro account.
Oh well, I already have one. No, I don't. I do have NFL Plus, and I watch replays of games sometimes, which I think is cool because it's like condensed games. So it's like 30 minutes you can watch a whole game. Which
watching football without the commercials and the injuries is
amazing.
Really enjoyable.
It's amazing.
It's usually, like if it's a game I don't really care about or too much, but even with I like the only games I really watch are Ravens games, which I'll get to see Mac Jones play. Well, I guess unless he's injured, I can't see. But I think because they're playing the play. They're playing the Patriots this weekend. But I'll wait like an hour until like it's an hour into the game, and I'll start watching it.
Absolutely.
If I'm not like super excited about the game, that's the way to do it, man. So watching those condensed games is awesome.
Yep. All right, man. Well, I think that's it. Good luck this year. Really appreciate you coming on to talk. We can have you on again sometime to check in, see how things are going. And yeah, George Russell. Yes.
Look at that. Look at the lightning.
Amazing.
It's the lightning is pretty much embodies his spirit. This is really striking feature. He's a really striking driver. Yeah. So I don't know where I was going with that, but
I don't know where you're going either, but
I don't think you can say much about George Russell other than he's a guy who drives a car.
He's handsome.
Oh yes, of course. And he looks like me, apparently. More than Lewis, but like I mean, I have a really cool shirt for him now, so I'm gonna wear it as much as possible.
Amazing. All right.
Thanks, bud. It was good to talk to you.
Yeah, good to talk to you too.
See ya.
See ya.